Okay, well, we have a real treat today. This thing of beauty is a Stuart Turner Sun model steam engine. Now, Stuart Turner made three engines in this range. The first was the Star, which was the smaller one. Then there was this one, the Sun, which is the middle one, and then there was the Sirius, which is the bigger one. And Keith Appleton has done a very nice couple of videos on a Sirius that he's recently acquired on his channel, and I'll put a link to those videos in the description below. Now, I've been after one of these for a long time, but they're very, very expensive. And I was very lucky with this one. I got this one for a very, very good price. It's been a shelf queen. It's not been run for a long time, but it's in absolutely excellent condition. I'll give you a little bit of history on these. This engine was launched in 1927 by Stuart Turner as a direct replacement for the number 1B MTB engine. Very similar design to its forerunner, the Star. It has two cylinders. They're behind this brass cover here. They are each of 3/4 inch bore and 3/4 inch stroke. It was available in two options, this engine. The piston valve one, which is the one that we have here, but also there was also a slide valve variant. But unfortunately, the slide valve one became a victim of the Second World War and was dropped after the Second World War. So you quite often find that you'll see a lot more of these, the piston valve variant, than you will of the slide valve one. The slide valve one is quite rare. And the Stuart supplied these in three forms. You could get just the castings and materials. You could then buy. You could also buy a complete set of parts fully machined with fixings, or you could buy the complete engine which is ready to run. So but I don't know whether this was built from a kit, whether it was complete, bought complete from Stuart Turner, but it is an absolutely superb example. I'm very, very pleased with it. These are a little bit unusual in the fact that they have a wet sump, so the crankcase here has a small amount of oil in it, and obviously the crankshaft runs in that, and it relies on the splash to keep the bottom half of the engine lubricated. Okay, so here you can see the drain cock for the oil that's in the wet sump. This is a little breather for the crankcase, and then over on this side we have this is just an absolutely gorgeous little bit of engineering. This is the oil filler and dipstick. There you go, little tiny dipstick. Now, this is the exhaust from the steam chest. Obviously, this is the inlet. I've got it sealed off on this side, but normally you would have a displacement lubricator. Now, I don't have one at the moment. I'm waiting for one. I've ordered one, so I can't steam this at the moment because you really shouldn't run it on steam without a displacement lubricator, because that's the lubrication for the valve gear, which is in here. But you can run it on compressed air. That's fine, as long as you don't do it for too long. So I have run this, and it runs absolutely fine on an incredibly small amount of, I think it was about 8 psi it runs on. So there's obviously not an awful lot wrong with it. There's only a tiny amount of oil in it. Obviously, the oil was drained out for shipping purposes. So there's only a tiny little bit of oil in the crankcase. But obviously, everything in the crankcase is covered in oil. So I'm not too bothered about running it for a short period of time on compressed air. But obviously, we will need to refill the crankcase before we run it on steam. But it is just totally stunning. I mean, this is just an amazing engine. So right, so let's get it running. Well, yeah, those of you who've watched any of my previous model steam engine videos will know that I'm a big advocate of running model steam engines on steam. I very rarely run them on compressed air. However, I can't run this one yet, as I said earlier, on steam, because I don't have a displacement lubricator which would be fitted here for it, so I can't lubricate the valve gear. So I'm going to break with tradition here and actually show you this running very briefly on compressed air, because it's just, I just wanted to show you this engine running. So I've got a little tiny air compressor here, which is this is actually an airbrush compressor, and it's managing about 8 psi. There's no reservoir for this compressor, so that's why you only get very low pressures out of it. However, there you go. that's about 8 psi, and it's running. Isn't that amazing? And I love the valve gear, the way it works on these Stuart Turners. It's just really unusual. And this thing is just as smooth as silk. It really is. Now I'm not going to run it for too long because, like I said, I don't have any. There is obviously the crank shaft is oiled, but there is no oil as such in the crankcase. So I'm not going to run it too long because it's dry. But that is just, isn't that just amazing? I mean, that is just perfect. So I can't wait to get this thing running on steam. And as soon as I get the displacement lubricator, I will do another video with this connected up to my my steam plant. But anyway, I just couldn't resist doing this. So there you go, Stuart Turner Sun engine running on compressed air for the first time since I got it. Isn't that amazing? Anyway, hope you enjoyed this little video, and thank you very much for watching. Cheers.